After going through a breakup, so many of us look back on our past relationship and regret how we showed up. This can look like obsessing over what we could have done differently in the relationship, what we could have said differently, and even if we were further along in our healing process, that maybe the relationship could have worked out. It's a very painful place to be, and it keeps us stuck thinking about our ex all of the time. So, what do you do to break out of this regret and let your ex go so that you can move on and find a great relationship? Today, I'm sharing a coaching and energy healing session I did with my client Stacy, who came to me for help with breaking the cycle of bad relationships, moving on from her ex, and the regret that she continues to feel for how she showed up in that last relationship. She also feels like her picker is off when it comes to choosing a partner, and she wants help with figuring out what is toxic in a relationship and what's not, what healthy relationships look like. She's also wondering how to tell who's right for her if she shouldn't follow the spark. So come along with us in this combined coaching and energy healing session where I help her get clear on what's healthy in a relationship and what's not, and more importantly, what a healthy connection feels like after coming out of a not so great relationship. You'll also see how I help her release the subconscious blocks that are keeping her heart closed to love and keeping her stuck on her ex. Watch till the end to see how she's doing after her session when we check back in with her a few weeks later.
I am currently healing from a 3-year relationship that I was in where I did live with my partner. Um, I'm 32 years old, so it was one of those relationships where I kind of thought this could be it. This could be the one. And I was looking for engagement in marriage, and at the end of our relationship, we just decided that we kind of weren't on the same page, even though we had previously definitely discussed marriage and kids and all those things that you discuss when you start to fall for someone. So it just turned into sort of this negative cycle where we were arguing a lot because I wasn't feeling the security and the groundedness and the forward thinking that I wanted, and he was not feeling that way because we were arguing so much. So it was this perfect like circle, and it was kind of like who started what, and we were keeping score, and there was just a lot that went wrong, and I feel like I learned about attachment styles and all these things too late. Now I'm reading this book called Attached, and now I'm watching your videos about how yes, there is attachment, but there's also just toxic partners, and so I'm like, what do I cling to? What makes sense? And I think my biggest fear is that one, that I could have done something to fix the relationship, and two, that my picker is off. Like now, if I do move forward and find a new partner, I'm going to keep repeating these same mistakes. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yes. Yeah, yes. I can completely relate to that.
hmm
Because yeah, when we go through a healing process like this and we learn a lot and we become more self-aware, we look back and go, "Oh, yeah, I made some mistakes." So yeah, I'm curious, like now that you're learning more about attachment theory and kind of like your eyes are a bit more wide open, what
hmm
are you learning about your last relationship where like what is your attachment style? Do you think what is
Yeah.
his? What was going on there?
I think strongly believe that he was avoidant and I was anxious attached. Because the more that I would try to close the gap, the more that he would push away. And I felt like if we were arguing, I wanted to resolve it right then and there, and he wanted time to breathe and come back to it later. And we weren't really doing what the other person needed. Do you know what I mean? And
Yes.
because we both were feeling overwhelmed, anxious, mad, triggered, all these things. And yeah, it really eroded us. And learning that about attachment styles, and now I'm going, well, was he avoidant or was he just not compatible with me? And then I say, am I anxious, or if I was with the right person, would I be actually really good and secure? So that's tough.
It is tough. And yeah, I'd love to know a little bit more about what actually ended the relationship. Like you said the relationship eroded, but what was it?
Mhm.
Like was it him calling it off? Was it you?
Yes, it was him.
Okay.
Because I'm an anxious, attached person, I feel like I would do anything to salvage what we had. And I was always the one that I felt like was apologizing first, whether I did something wrong or he did, whatever it might be, I always was like, you know what? I'm sorry. Let's talk about this. But then I would get mad because he wouldn't apologize. And I would say, well, you're not going to apologize too? Like, like, can we both kind of, and the more that we would argue, this is over the span of 3 years. And the arguing did start pretty early. It wasn't like we had this like blissful first year and then we got, the arguing happened early and then it got worse when we moved in together about a year and a half into
Mhm.
the relationship. So, and it was just little things about how someone said something or, just little arguments that turned into bigger ones and brought up the last one. And he would he would break up with me almost every 6 months, and it tended to be right around the time I had something very big going on for work,
Ah.
which was odd. And I was like, I have this big thing coming up, this big moment, this big milestone in my career, and you're doing this again. And he would always kind of say, I'm done in the avoidant way of like, I got to get out of here. And then he would say, I don't mean, because I would say, you don't mean it. And then he would be like, you're right, I don't mean it. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm just so angry with you. So I was always
Mhm.
doing the convincing of staying in the relationship and let's try again. But for him, every argument where I would just move on and forget about it, it lingered for him. And
Okay.
he tacked it on to the next time. And he kind of, it felt like the goalpost was always moving. I'd be like, okay, we had a great 6 months. Maybe now we'll talk about engagement. And he was like, well, we argued that one time. So, and then, so like the
Mhm.
timeline always moved. And I felt like I could never gain any, um, progress, I guess. I could never get to where I wanted us to be. So the final straw was back in February where it was probably some silly argument. Our lease was up in May, and I had told myself if we don't discuss the next step by May, it's important that I remove myself from this relationship because I don't want to keep playing house with someone who isn't going the same direction as me. I would like a family someday. That was probably on my mind a lot too, and that was stressing me out, thinking like, am I going to be able to have kids? What if we don't get married? What if, all these things were like starting to weigh on me, and I was probably projecting that onto him a little bit too. But the final thing was like, he said, I'm done. And instead of me going, no, no, let's talk about it, I was like, you know what? Me too. I'm tired of the roller coaster. Our lease is up in May. We might as well break things off before we have to decide whether or not we need to, re-sign or
Yeah.
whatever. So, and we both moved out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just,
when you were done, he was then done too.
um,
Or
yeah,
kind
I
of like
mean,
you're both done at the same time.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think I probably shocked him by saying I agree, because normally I did not agree. And I think he was like, wow, this is actually really over now. Because I want someone who's sure about me and who isn't going to break up with me every 6 months. And, it felt very high
Mhm.
school. It felt very, um, are we out of the woods? Like I never felt really that we were just good. And I would envy my friends who are in partnerships and relationships where, maybe I say this, but like they lapped us. Like they started dating after us, but got
Yeah.
engaged before us or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, they seem so secure. What am I missing here? What are we doing wrong? But I truly did love him and I truly believe he loved me. So that was
Yes.
what was keeping us sort of on this hook.
Right. And this, from what you've described, this is a person who's significantly, we could say, avoidant or unavailable. I
Mhm.
mean, breaking up with you quite often. That's really difficult. That's really
Yes.
painful.
Yes. And he was previously engaged and it did not end up working out. So I do think
Ah,
there was some fear from that, some trauma from that he did not resolve. And he was unwilling to want to do therapy with me or on his own. He did
gonna
not,
ask you
I
that.
suggested that many times for us both. And he felt like he said only married couples should need therapy. And if we need that now, then something is really wrong. And I was like, no, I think a lot of couples who are, wanting marriage are doing this to strengthen their relationship before marriage. And I just had this different approach, and I could not force him to do that.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
That tells us a lot then. So
Yeah.
yeah, like where do you still have some thoughts? I think you mentioned that in the beginning. Like maybe I could have done something
Yes.
different to make this work.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I do. I still kind of blame myself because I was anxious and I he would call me needy a lot. And I didn't like that because I really didn't think I was being needy. I think I was trying to be affectionate. Like I would put my hand on his leg on New Year's Eve or on our friends, and he'd be like, "You're being needy." And I'd be like, "What?"
Oh, oh,
So little
that's not
things like
needy.
that where I was like,
Yeah.
"Wait, I'm not being needy." And then I would get upset. I'd be like, "No, I'm not." Um and it was tough. His family and friends and everybody would be like, we'd be at like a family wedding and they would say, "Are you guys next?" And his
Oh,
sister would ask if we looked at rings yet, and I would be like, "No, still no," because everyone around you is bringing this pressure and this conversation, thinking of surely they're there. Um, and then so I still blame myself, I think, because I am an anxious person. If someone hangs up on me, I have called 1,000 times until they pick up,
yeah.
like I've done unhealthy habits, and that's hard to admit here, but I need to because it's important I think for you to know that this wasn't all him, I don't think.
Right, right.
But yeah, we were just two very different attachment styles and at two different places, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, no, thank you for being so
Mhm.
open here and so honest. Yeah, the more you can tell me, the easier it is for me
Yeah.
to help you and pinpoint, exactly what we can target with the energy
Mhm.
healing today, with the releasing. So, would it help to have my perspective on this and kind of like how I'm
Yes,
seeing this
please.
big picture?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because from what you've told me, I don't think this relationship was going to work out. Mostly because he was so unwilling to do any kind of therapy with you. That's what it would have required. Now, it's not to say that you were perfect in this relationship. Sure, there were things that probably you could have worked on, some of
Right.
the anxiety, maybe some of those behaviors, but you were actually behaving quite normally. And when you're in a dynamic with someone who is more avoidant or who is more emotionally unavailable, yeah, it will bring out a very anxious side of anyone. Like, even if you're not anxiously attached, even if you're more secure, that will make someone feel anxious because of all that
Hmm.
behavior. So, like, the main thing that I typically look for if a relationship is going to work out is how willing is the other person? Well, how willing are both people to
Yeah.
do some introspection, to shift their patterns, to do some healing work if necessary, so that you could feel more comfortable in the relationship. Like, what that would have looked like is probably the two of you working together in couples therapy, probably him also doing his own work
Yeah,
so
and
that
I
he's,
even said,
yeah,
please. I even said I would love to see like do you, and I want that for you, and um just little things would get in our way. Like he would say like I feel like I'm losing my hair in the shower, and I would be like, "Oh, like, maybe let's get you on something that might help with that, like just encourage." And he was like, "Well, you agree that I'm losing my hair?" Like, and it just we had
mm,
like moments where we were just having a disconnect, and there was just stress and fear. And I do wonder like where we would be if he would have said, "Yes, I'll go to therapy on my own." And yes, let's see a couples therapist to learn more about this?
yeah. Yeah, and that's it's so normal to wonder too,
Hmm.
because I can tell that you really cared about this person and you
I
love
did,
this
yeah.
person, and it's
Hmm.
like that's where our mind goes. It goes to like, oh, things could have been different.
Hmm.
And part of that is the grieving process, and we can do some releasing on some of the energies that are keeping you kind of thinking about your ex and really not able to be open to new people who are coming into your life. But yeah, that is so normal. And like I said, I don't think that that relationship was going to work out because it does require like good healthy relationships require somebody to adjust their
Yeah.
behavior. And it's just it can't happen. You can't pull that relationship by yourself. Like, you can't do all the healing and all the working on yourself to make it work. It would have to be him too.
Right. I
And
was thinking about that too. I was reading this book and I was like, I can't throw this book at him or highlight the chapters I want him to read. Like he has to be like, I'm gonna pick this up and do it? And it's again, I'm not trying to act like I've have it all figured out or I'm high and mighty, but I really wanted us to, because we were so compatible in so many other ways. We had so many common interests, and we had fun together, and we laughed at the same things. So like it's disappointing to know that it's not to be, but I just really got to a point where I wanted to feel wanted, and I felt rejected a lot. And when even after the breakup, we've had conversations and I immediately feel anxious,
Yeah. Yeah.
we decided not to speak for a few weeks to see about the space and how that would feel. He did eventually reach out, and I immediately felt anxiety instead of like, I was like a little bit relieved, but I was more like anxious, like, what do I say? How do I say the right thing? What even do I want? Do I want to get back together with this person, or do I want to ignore? Do I want to? So I struggled with that moment too.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and like what I can tell you is you can feel so much more secure in a relationship. Like just the fact that when you're talking to him, you're worried about saying the wrong thing and you're
Hmm.
like that kind of walking on eggshells thing. That's a sign that this is not the right person for you.
Right.
Because you really like it's like a cliche they say it. You can't say the wrong thing with the right person, but
Yeah.
it really is true. Now, of course, there's like you taken to the extreme, of course, you can't like be abusive and things like that. But you shouldn't have to worry about somebody calling you needy or you saying something that's going to just blow up the relationship. If it's just a normal conversation, like you're just bringing normal things to this person, no, it shouldn't feel like that.
Hmm.
So that's a real clue that you can pay attention to moving forward when you're talking to someone. Like, how am I actually feeling with this person? Like, even if you're super compatible, even if all the other things are lining up, do I feel safe with this person?
Yeah.
Or am I feeling anxious? Because that's a big clue for
Hmm.
incompatibility on that level. So
What
yeah.
would you say about I read about how when an anxious person meets a secure partner, they often feel there's no spark and they're
Yeah.
almost like bored and they're like, I should feel some sort of something. And I guess I'm worried that like I would be turning down potential good future partners that are secure because I don't feel that anxious, avoidant dance. You know what I mean? Like I
Oh, I
don't know.
totally do.
I'm
Yeah.
worried about my detection of that and like and how to like decipher what's what.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Like I talk about that a lot because that's a real thing. And that's actually
Mhm.
something we can do some releasing on today. I'm hearing two things that we should focus on. Any energies that are still keeping you kind of thinking about your ex and
Mhm.
connected to him emotionally, but also anything that might be holding you back from being open to someone healthy. And so yeah, that's a process. I can tell you a little bit about what it was like for me. I've gone through this process of going from unavailable partners to healthy
Yeah.
partners. And I did a lot of subconscious work because what I had realized was all of the emotional baggage that I was carrying around, and also a lot of the beliefs I had about myself, like that I wasn't enough or that people were always going to leave me, that was drawing me towards those toxic partners because somehow it felt right, it felt familiar.
Hmm.
So to shift that pattern, I had to start loving myself more. And by loving myself, it just meant healing, thinking more positively about myself, releasing all of that emotional stuff I was carrying around so that naturally I started to feel more attracted to healthy partners.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a huge sudden shift one day,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
was more like I just got tired of dealing with the people who were kind of inconsistent, who would show up. Like,
Hmm.
I had a lot of this in my life. I had a lot of people who would show up and be like, oh, super excited in the beginning. And then they would just be gone. And
Oh yeah. I
mm,
had that recently after my breakup because
yeah,
I tried to
yeah.
get back out there and I met a cute guy and he seemed really into me at first. Like he was like, I can't wait to see you again. When can we pencil in a second date? I can't stop thinking about you, all these things. And I kind of like was a little like, well, it's a lot, but I was also like, okay, this is nice to be wanted and to be desired. And
Totally.
maybe this is a good thing. And then as soon as I allowed myself to like him back, he gone.
There
Like,
they go. Yeah.
and it was like, oh, we'll play it by ear. I don't know. And it kind of like backed off. And I was like, what happened there? And I don't know. I mean, I think it was
Yeah.
a mixture of a lot of things, but I have felt that too.
Yes. And and that's where like for me, I just started to get tired of it. And I was like, I'm not even gonna entertain this anymore. And so when I
Yeah,
saw that happening, I'd be like, all right, they're gone.
right.
Block, delete, whatever I needed to do. And then what it looked like for me when someone available came into my life, it was like, huh,
Hmm.
I don't I don't know how I feel about this right away. It was more of like I'm intrigued, I'm curious, wasn't feeling like huge sparks or anything, but it's more just like, I'm interested in this person
Yeah.
and let me just keep seeing them and see what happens. And kind of like they grew on me as I was continuing to do my healing work and opening myself up more. So typically that's also what it looks like for my clients too. If they're coming from those toxic sparks, those toxic relationships, they're not sure how they feel in the beginning,
Right.
but then as they get to know somebody, they fall in love, and then
Yeah.
the sparks start to happen. But it's different. I would say they're different sparks. It's to me, it feels more like a slow burn. Like
Yeah.
I was talking about this the other day on a podcast actually. For
Mhm.
me, the toxic sparks, I feel attraction, certainly. I feel excitement, but I also feel a lot of other things too. I feel anxiety. I also feel pain because usually it's triggering some of my stuff. But
Yeah.
healthy sparks, it feels more like kind of just like a warm, quiet, fuzzy feeling of
Hmm.
just like, oh, I feel safe and I really like this person, like I'm having
Right.
fun. More like that. Does that help to have that?
Yeah, it does because it makes me know that there at least should be some sort of spark, but it should be a
Yeah.
healthy spark, because I don't think my faith plays a big role in my life too, and I always say like I don't think God wants me to be with someone who I'm not attracted to. Like,
No,
like
no.
I don't think my coaches or therapists or whoever, a family wants me to just settle for someone that I'm like, well, he's a nice guy. And so that's been helpful to kind of understand more about too.
Yeah, no, that definitely there should be
Mhm.
something there. Like, no, don't ever force yourself. Like just because someone's nice, that doesn't make a relationship.
Right.
You have to have a connection. You have to have some
Hmm.
compatibility, and yeah, you have to kind of find them appealing. And no,
Right.
maybe they're not like the most attractive person you've ever met. Like maybe it doesn't have to be that, but
Right.
you do need some sort of
Yeah.
attraction. Yeah.
Hmm.
Awesome. Well, yeah, so if you're ready, we can start doing some releasing, but did you have any other questions for me before we dive in there?
Um, I don't think so. I feel like I will say like I do my biggest issue is I'm trying to like learn and consume everything right now. Like I
Yeah.
have like four different books on attachment theory and I'm wanting to listen to you and like 10 other people about that talk about this and I'm like kind of overwhelmed by like wanting to learn everything right now and like also just heal and be me and go out with my friends and just like you said like myself again, be comfortable with myself with no makeup, look at myself in the mirror and say, you're great and I've been repeating to myself like only unconditional love, unconditional consistent love is good enough. And I'm like trying to like remind myself of that and not settle for less, but at the same time it's like I have all these voices too. So I don't know, like, I guess where to start now. Like, what do I do next? You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna do the release work, which I think is great, but like, what do I do first, I guess?
That's such a good question. And
Mhm.
yet, like from what you've told me right now, you've been taking a lot in. It sounds like it's starting to feel a little bit overwhelming and like
Mhm.
there's so many voices. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I would recommend doing is taking a break from taking so much in and letting some of this integrate. So the thing that I always caution people to not do is to do so much researching that you're actually using that as a way to keep you away from people,
Hmm.
like to avoid getting into relationships, which a lot of times we do need a break from dating, from meeting
Yeah.
people, but it can be a way to hide and keep yourself closed off from
Yeah.
intimacy.
I think I saw a video you or someone else did that on that. I'm sorry if it wasn't you, but it was about like you can do all this research, but eventually you have to like put the phone down and like apply what you've learned
Yes.
and live and go live. And I was like, that's huge because I've been like saving all these things on my
Yeah.
Instagram and I'm like, when am I gonna go? Just like and I'm not wasting time, but like you know what I mean? Like I'm getting so immersed in it that it's overwhelming.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. And a lot of times if you're in this self-help world, we can come away like from all that stuff thinking that we need to reach a certain level of healing before we're ready for a healthy relationship or
Hmm.
before someone can love us. And that's not true either. Typically we need to do a little bit,
Yeah.
but not so much to where like we're perfectly healed and we've reached this like transcended place. No, no, no. The journey is actually to realize that you are perfectly lovable right now, just as you are. That's the healing journey. So, yeah, if it's just feeling too much, I would say drop it for now. You're
Hmm.
probably okay to start going out there and dating. Of course, it would definitely help if you had a mentor to just help you with that process. I'm here if you ever, want to continue with that.
Right.
But yeah, I think probably just taking a break right now.
Hmm.
How
Well, I guess
does that feel? How would that feel?
I think it's good, but my follow up to that and is how do I still there's still a little part of me that like wishes I could apply what I'm learning to my last relationship.
Yeah.
Like wanting to be like, look what I know now and look what we could do. And there's like that like moment of like regret where I'm
Yeah.
like, if only he saw this, this, and this. And I don't know how to like let that go or get past that.
That's what we're gonna do
Okay.
today. Yeah, because that's just the emotional attachment to him, which doesn't immediately go away once you
Yeah.
break up. Like you'll see what comes up here. We'll find a lot of things that are
Okay.
keeping you from fully letting go of that relationship. Because yeah, as it stands now, he's not in the place to be a healthy partner for you.
Hmm.
So ultimately, it would serve you best to move on from him and be
Yeah.
open to someone new. But totally, that regret, all of those feelings, so normal,
Okay.
so normal. So yeah, you ready to dive in
I'm
here? See what?
ready.
Have you ever done something like this before? Energy healing?
Not really, no. And I think like old me would be like, oh, this feels woo-woo or whatever, but I'm into it. Let's do it.
It's totally woo woo,
Yeah.
but it works. And the weird part about this work is like I can't actually tell you how it's working. Like we don't know how it's working. Science
Hmm.
does not have an answer for this yet. I just know that it does because my clients
Okay.
tell me all the time that they feel better and they've moved on from exes and
Yeah.
so things. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tap into you using muscle testing. Have you heard of that before?
No.
Okay, so it's another word for that is kinesiology. And what I do is I use my fingers to get a yes or a no answer from your subconscious. So what I'm
Okay.
going to do is like my energy will temporarily step aside and I will tap into you, Stacy.
Okay.
Okay, so we're tapped in. I'm connected to you. I have a chart of like dozens of different energies in front of me. And what I'm going to do is just ask your subconscious, what is the most important thing that we need to release today to help you to move on from your ex, from your last relationship? And it's going to take me straight to it. So let me do that. So the first thing that comes up is something that's called a heart wall. And a heart wall is a suppressed emotional energy around your heart. And it makes it hard to move on from an ex. It makes it hard to feel love, to receive love, but it also makes it hard to feel attraction to healthy
Hmm.
partners. It's like when people say that they feel like they have walls up, this is what they're talking about
Hmm.
in terms of this energetic healing system. So I have like 50 different energies in front of me. I'm going to figure out what specific emotional energy is making up this heart wall. So this is grief, which makes sense. That's very common after a breakup. And the only other thing we need to know in order to release it is how old you were approximately when you first experienced this. So it could be from this breakup, but I'm getting it's not. This is from younger. So let me see here where this is coming from. Around 17. And with the subconscious, these ages are approximate. So it's like plus or minus a year. It could have
Hmm.
been 16, 17, 18, but just somewhere around that time, there was some sort of grief that was similar to what you're experiencing now. So we can just release it. If you're like, oh, I know what that was, yes, just let
Hmm.
it go. We can do that. If you're curious about it, we can ask a little bit. Like I can try to narrow it down a little bit
Hmm.
to see what was going on there. Totally up to you here.
Yeah, I'm curious because I feel something kind of close to that, but a little bit old. I was a little bit older.
Okay.
Um, so I'm curious. And maybe there was something then and I don't even know what it was and I've suppressed, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
yeah.
I'm asking if it's what you were thinking of, and the answer is no. So this
Okay.
is something different. Let me narrow it down a bit here. So I'm going to ask, is this about your family? No, it's not. Is this about friendships? No. School? No. But a romantic relationship, yes. And this doesn't have to be like you were actually dating someone. It could have been just you had romantic feelings for
Hmm.
someone. Yes. And let me ask, was this a one-time thing? No. So there wasn't like an event that happened. This was ongoing at that time. Was this someone that you had romantic feelings for? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if you're ready, we can release this. You feel
Okay.
ready?
Hmm.
Okay. So how this works is I have a magnet and I'm going to run this over the top of my head 3 times. That's the main energy line of the body. It's called the governing meridian. It's an acupuncture term.
Okay.
That releases the energy instantly from your energetic system. So that's gone. I can double check. Yep, that's clear. it will now take about 24 hours to process out of your physical body.
Okay.
And so in that time, you can feel like you've let go of something. You can feel like a weight has been lifted. You can just feel kind of like more free. A lot of people tell me that when we're doing this in relation to exes specifically, they feel like they have more space between them and their ex. Sometimes people tell me that they have more energy. Sometimes people will also tell me they feel a little bit tired because it does
Hmm.
take energy to process out these things. And occasionally people will tell me they feel echoes of what we've released. So that's why I'm taking notes here. If randomly on Monday you feel a little bit of grief coming up, like around your ex, you can know that's probably from what we've released, unless
Right.
something has triggered it.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how this process works. We're probably going to release between 7 and 8 energies here today. But
Okay.
any questions so far?
No, I'm loving it so far. It's very interesting to watch.
Yeah, this work is so cool. I like,
Like I don't feel anything yet, but I think I will
yeah.
eventually.
Yeah, and everybody's different. Like some people who are very sensitive to this work, they will feel it like I'm doing the magnet and
Wow.
they're feeling it. They're like, "Wow." Some people don't feel anything until after the session, like in
Hmm.
that week. They'll feel things shifting and they'll feel like a relief or they'll feel yeah, just like something has changed.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't feel anything until about a week after the session because it will take a week to process out everything that we did here today.
Okay.
And then they'll feel like, oh, wow, yeah, I feel better. So
Yeah.
everyone's different. Every session is different. So, yeah. Since
Awesome.
this is your first time, I'll check in with you a bit more frequently. So, yeah, you doing okay so far?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Okay. So, if you're good, then let's continue to release on your ex and anything that we need to let go of today to help you to move on from him and to disconnect emotionally so that you can be open to new people, emotionally available people in particular. And this is another heart wall, which very common in breakups. Let's see what this one is. Defensiveness. And that's common too. And I think that's probably coming up as a part of the dynamic you told me about where he's saying things like you're needy and you're like kind of like the times where he's blaming you. Let me
Yeah.
ask. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think I would get defensive and then kind of do some sort of protest behavior, like I'm leaving or like you don't
Yeah,
respect me or something like that, where it was like me trying to protect myself.
totally.
Hmm.
Yes, that's exactly what it looks like.
Hmm.
And so let me see when this was from in particular. 31. So you said you're currently 32. This is
Hmm.
probably from that relationship. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
probably, yeah, like exactly what you were talking about.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, 31 was a tough year.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes
Hmm.
sense. So yeah, if you're ready, we can ask more about it or we can just let it go.
Well, I guess like is there more granular ways we could get with that?
Yeah. Yeah, like if you think it might be from a certain event, we can ask. Um,
Yeah, I'd like to know.
yeah, let's see. I'm asking, is this from a like was this a one-time thing? Yeah, this was. So there was something, like maybe it was a fight. Yeah, something like that. And if you remember certain fights, I can ask, was it this one?
Hmm.
Was it that one?
I mean, I remember some of them, but I feel like they all started to blend together eventually.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's from one of these sounds like it yeah, it was a big fight. I'm asking the subconscious and it's telling
Hmm.
me yeah, it was a bigger fight around this 31. Was it one of the times that you broke up? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that would do it. That would do it.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember some of these moments for sure.
Yeah, and so what we're doing here is we're helping the emotional charge to dissipate because
Hmm.
it's not like you're going to forget that these things happen, but
Yeah.
hopefully when you remember them, it'll feel less charged. You'll feel just like, oh, that happened, and it won't feel
Hmm.
so heavy. Yeah. So yeah, if you're ready, we can release this too.
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, good, let's do it. So we are releasing this heart wall of defensiveness. Let me double check. Good. That's released. How's that feeling? Give you
Good.
a second here. Yeah, any questions so far as we're going along here?
Um, I don't think so. It's just interesting to see, more about the different characteristics of what I might have done or what I might have felt, because it's so easy to clump them all to like, we just fought a lot. We just
Yeah.
argued a lot. but when we break it up like this and kind of see it as different, either traumatic experiences or walls that I have or moments where I was angry, it definitely just I think adds more dimension and dynamic to it, and it makes me have more grace for myself. It's kind of like,
Good.
oh,
Yeah.
this was like heavier and deeper and more complex than I'm telling my friends and family it was.
Yes.
Hmm.
I'm so glad that you're taking that away from this because that's
Hmm.
what we want. We can imagine these energies as like little children. Like it's our inner child. When people talk about inner child, this is what they're talking about. Like these
Yeah.
younger parts of us that we're feeling, in your case, grief or
Mhm.
defensiveness. There's a lot here. The subconscious remembers everything. I mean, you'll
Yeah.
see what we release here, but yeah, it usually is a lot more complex than we can even take in consciously.
Hmm.
That there's a reason why we suppress all these things because in the moment we're not able to process them fully, and so they just go underground, so to speak. Ready to continue here?
Yes, I am. Sorry,
Okay.
my own thing went off.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, we're good.
I'm still testing here, so you're all good. So I'm asking subconscious the same question. What is the next most important thing that we need to release to help you to fully move on from that last relationship? And it's another heart wall, which is great because it's like we're killing two birds with one stone here. We're also opening you up to more emotionally available
Hmm.
partners at the same time. We're going to target that specifically here too, but let's see what this heart wall is. This is shame. So that might be some of the regret, like wishing you could have done things differently. And let me ask, is that it? Actually, no, it's something else here. Let me get an age, then we can find out more about
Hmm.
that specifically. When is this from? This is from around 16. So would you like to know more about that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, let's ask. Does this have to do with family? No. Does this have to do with friends? No. It's also related to romantic feelings, relationships. This was that first love that you were telling me about.
Hmm.
So do you know what this shame might be from that time?
Um, this was maybe it's feeling shameful of kind of like breaking up with him for no reason and hurting his feelings. I remember
Mm-hmm.
specifically the moment where I did that, and I really didn't have any other reason than I just like wanted to like, I was young, I wanted to date other people, and like I remember really hurting him, and I think there is some shame attached to that because um he went on to marry one of my friends, and then I
Mm.
felt like, oh my God, did I like miss out on something, even though like I feel like I didn't. So maybe that's surrounding that a little bit.
That's exactly what it is. And I'm so sorry that happened. And it makes perfect sense that that would be coming up now since you're
Mhm.
now like it sounds like you're not having the same exact regrets, but you're having similar like, oh man, like could I have made it better? It's
Yeah.
it's similar enough that it makes perfect sense here.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so yeah, whenever you're ready, let's release that so you can let go of some of that burden, like that it could have worked out. Because
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's a reason why it didn't, because like my philosophy is, well, if this person is not with you now, they weren't your person. Like, and
Hmm.
that's just what it is. And
Right.
so our
Right.
only job is to move forward and see who is really for us and
Hmm.
do our work to be open to what's coming next. So
Absolutely. I'm ready.
let's do it. Let's release this heart wall of shame because you don't need that. And like at 16, oh my gosh, we're all so young. Like
I know.
we
It's
don't know what we're doing.
no. It feels silly. Like, he was a nice guy and there's no
Right?
hard feelings. It's just I was so young.
16, like I don't
Mhm.
even know how anyone settles down at 16. Like
Right.
we have so much growing to do. We have so much like figuring out who we are to do.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I think like,
yeah.
when you are young, you have this timeline for yourself. You're like, I'm gonna get married at 24, and I'm gonna have kids by 27. And
Yep.
like, none of that actually rarely works out the way you had envisioned it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
And you know what? Like the way I look at it, it's because there's something better for you out
Hmm.
there. It's because it's a lot of times yeah, like we talked about, we have that thing in our heads, but I feel like there's a deeper part of us. We can call it like soul, your true self, whatever you want to call it, that actually has something better in mind for you. And so like part of the journey is to get out of our heads, so to speak, of what we think would make us happy
Yeah.
and be open to like what what we're guided towards, like
Yeah.
what's actually going to make us happy.
That's really hard for me to like release control and like
Oh
relinquish
yeah.
like the grip that I have over my life for sure.
Oh yeah. Like you're talking to somebody who had like an
Yeah,
ultra tight grip. Like like I
like
when I say
knuckling
this,
life.
I speak from experience. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I did I ever envision myself like here today doing this work, dating, like helping people with dating and
Hmm.
breakups? No way. Never would have saw it, but so happy. But yeah, like I
Yeah.
had to let go. Like I say it feels like I was dragged kicking and screaming to my current reality because yeah,
Yep.
I was like, no, I want it
Yep.
this way. I want this picture. So
That's
yeah,
funny.
totally get that.
Hmm.
Let's keep going here. Let me see if
Okay.
there's more to release around your ex specifically. Yeah, yeah. And another heart wall is coming up. Beautiful. That's what we want to see. Let's see what this is. Resentment. And that makes sense too. Let's see when that resentment started for you. 31. So that started in that relationship. Does that make sense for that
Yeah.
time?
I mean, yeah, I think that was around the time I was starting to go, you're wasting my time, like resenting him for not like originally being on the same page as me and me getting into it thinking, okay, we're good, and then feeling like duped later because then he totally backed up and I was already so invested. So now I'm like, I feel like you're wasting my time and you've tricked me or something. So I resented him for that.
That makes sense. And
Hmm.
I'm getting a yes from your subconscious. That is exactly what this is from. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so even it's like even stuff like that, even like the so-called negative feelings from the relationship, it
Hmm.
still keeps you kind of hooked into it emotionally. So
Well, yeah, because you want to make your time and investment worth it.
exactly.
I think that's the part of me that still wants it to fix it because I'm like, well, I put all this time in, and so it has to work. And it's like, that's I think one of the heaviest things for me because I turned 30 and I was like immediately thinking about my fertility and all these things and worrying that I would not have the life that I wanted and, starting to resent him for, because I brought up I would like to freeze my eggs and he was like, I don't think you need to do that yet. You're rushing us. And I was like,
Mhm.
actually, that gives us even more time if that's what we want to do. Just we
Right.
lacked a common understanding about that together. And I think I started to resent like where I was at with that.
Yes, you would.
Hmm.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. It's kind of
Hmm.
like it seems like he was giving you mixed messages in a way.
Hmm.
Like, oh, don't worry about it,
Yes.
but I'm also not taking steps towards making this
Yeah.
relationship more real, more of a commitment. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And
That
that
will
that really
that will breed
bothered me.
resentment.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're ready, let's release that for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So here we go. Releasing the resentment. Okay. Good. That's gone.
That one
That's a
feels
really
good.
good
That
one to
one's
release.
that
Did
one's
you
a
feel
big
that
one
one?
for me. Yeah. I think so. Because I just, yeah, it's like you said, those mixed messages and those feelings of like almost like breadcrumbing, like giving me just enough to make me feel okay, but not enough to like truly feel good. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And that really wears on you. And I can say that from experience too. It's very painful. And yeah, there will be like some anger, resentment underneath the pain. And that's I think what we've tackled, what
Hmm.
we've done here. Yeah, what we've seen here. So if you're okay with it, I'm gonna keep going and seeing what
Yeah,
else is
please.
here.
Hmm.
Let me ask if there's more specifically around your ex. There isn't. Your subconscious is now wanting to go towards being more open to the healthy partners. So
Hmm.
I think your ex might come up in here, but let's target that specifically so that we're
Okay.
not just doing the past, like we're helping you to move
Yeah,
forward
yeah.
here too. So we're looking to release anything that will help you to feel more open, more attracted to people that would be good for you, healthy for you. What is in the way here? Okay, we've got something that's called a trapped emotion. So this is very similar to a heart wall, except it could be anywhere in the body. It's just a common type of suppressed emotional energy. So let me see what this is, and then I can tell you more about the trapped emotion. This is heartache. So the body holds these emotional energies as tension. And so this could be like if you might know, oh yeah, I hold tension in my back, I hold it
Mhm.
like in my hips. This could just be anywhere. Like for me personally, I hold a lot in my neck. That's where my
Mhm.
body likes to hold it. So let me see how old you were when this heartache was going on. This is also 31. So it's interesting. We're not targeting your relationship specifically, but it's saying
Yeah.
like this that I'm assuming this is from your relationship. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
This is making it harder to be open to healthy people right now.
Yeah.
So, questions about this?
Yeah, I would love to know maybe like if there's like a reason or like an event because I mean I've had heartache probably repeatedly for a while, you
Yeah.
know? And so I think the one reason I think this might be stronger or coming up is because I did feel sort of ready for marriage and ready for the things that like ended up not happening, maybe. I
Yeah,
don't
let me
know.
ask. Is that what this is? Yes. And I think I'm getting that this was happening while you were still in that relationship. So
Hmm.
it sounds like you were having these moments where it was dawning on you that it wasn't going to
Yeah,
happen.
a lot of that. A lot of that where I'm going, I don't want to leave, but this doesn't feel good. Maybe this isn't right. And I always envision myself like as my wedding being like the happiest day of my life and being so sure. And I started to go, oh my gosh, the more unsure he is about me, the more unsure I am about him,
Yeah.
which seems so normal and of course, but for me it like really started to like make me afraid.
Yeah.
And it did become heartache because people in my life were telling me maybe to leave and it wasn't good. They didn't think that maybe he was the one. But I was like, oh, but, just like that heaviness. Hmm.
Yes. Because even if you know somebody's not the one, it still hurts so
Yeah.
bad. It
Yeah.
can hurt so bad. And I think, yeah, that's what this is. That's what we're picking
Hmm.
up on here. And that can make it hard to be open to new people at the same
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
So yeah, you ready
Let's
to
get rid of
release this? Let's do
it.
it. Yeah, you don't need this. Let's get rid of that heartache. Good one. Okay, that's cleared out. Still doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, let me know if you feel any shifts or any changes. I love to hear about that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the one bigger shift for me is when we talked about the one before this where it was about resentment. Like
The
I took like a
resentment.
big deep breath, like almost like it like caught up with me, like yeah, for sure. That one definitely I think felt different.
Yeah, because resentment can be very heavy. And it can
Mhm.
also create, like, I know for myself, when I feel resentment, it can create like a tension, especially because
Yeah.
that was a heart wall. Yeah, it could create a tension. So when we release it, it can feel like, okay, like there's a
Yeah.
little more space. I can breathe a little bit
Hmm.
deeper. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt
Oh,
my chest
awesome.
when you
Okay.
said it, I felt my chest kind of go, so
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Okay.
hmm.
So let me keep going here. I want to make
Okay.
sure we get to everything that we can
Sure.
today. There is something else we can release that is making it hard to be open to healthy partners. And this is another heart wall. So good, letting down those walls. Let's see what this is. Insecurity.
Mm.
So this could mean it could mean two things. It could mean feeling insecure, like I'm not good enough, but it could also mean insecure, feeling not safe, like I'm not actually feeling secure. Let's get an age and then we can figure out more specifics on that. This is from around age 12.
Mm.
So we're getting younger here.
Hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, do you want to know more about that?
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel that strongly.
Okay.
Hmm.
Let me ask, is this having to do with family? No. But friends, yes. And let me see, was this one particular friend? No, this is like a group of friends. And when the subconscious says friends, it could mean best friends, it could mean close
Hmm.
friends, it can also mean acquaintances, like just
Yeah.
people that you know. This seems like female friends. Let's see. Was it a one-time thing? No. So this was ongoing for you around that time.
Hmm.
Let's see. 12. What grade are you in? Typically seventh grade, sixth grade? I
Hmm.
might be off on that, but does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Hmm.
And see if I can narrow this down any further. Was this feeling insecure because of something that your friends were doing? No. Something they were saying? No. Comparing yourself to them? Yeah. Yes to
Hmm.
that. So does that make sense with
Yeah,
that?
and I feel like I still do that. You know, I work in an industry where looks are important and plate isn't a factor. And I think even as a kid, I was like, I have like big teeth and I had braces and I was feeling not like the rest of my friends. So I think probably there was some comparison and some insecurity around that.
I'm getting a yes. That is what it's about. And releasing this energy will help. And there's so much that you can do to shift that. Have you ever done things like hypnosis or guided meditations to rewire some of that?
Not really, and I apologize that there's a trash truck outside. You probably
That's
hear it.
okay.
Uh, but I've done some meditation work like in yoga, but
Hmm.
nothing where it was like hypnosis or anything sort of deeper than that.
Yeah, like that might be something that you want to think about doing down the road because that can be so helpful for those. Because really, what's at the root of that is just feeling like you're not okay as you are or not enough. And so when you really start to go back to the original times where you felt that and you see it differently, and then you remind yourself over and over again, like, no, I'm awesome, I'm wonderful. It like that will change your thinking patterns and that will help to shift those
Yeah.
patterns of just not feeling enough. So that's just an option for down the road. For
Yeah,
now, ready to release this?
yeah, I am because I think it also started to Lindsay with like OCD at that around that age, you
Okay.
know, like 12, 13, maybe even younger. So that all kind of manifested itself into anxiety and insecurity. So yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, let me release that. But yeah, because it sounds like this was, and you can tell me if I'm right here. This was more of like an obsessive pattern of comparing. Is that
Yeah,
what you were experiencing?
probably, yeah. Hmm.
So those patterns are probably in there pretty deeply. And so yeah, it would I think it would really help to do some of that deeper subconscious work from that time.
Yeah, I'm open to that for sure.
Nice. Okay. So let me check here. I'm asking your subconscious if we can do more. I think we can. Maybe at least one or two more. You up for that? So this is failure. And it doesn't mean you literally failed. It means you feel like you failed. It's a
Hmm.
perceived failure. Let me see when this was going on. I'm getting 32, so it might not be, it's not current, but just sometime within the past year or so.
Hmm.
Do you remember feeling that?
I mean, I felt failure a lot in my life. I've
Yeah.
changed jobs a lot. I have felt like I've failed in relationships. I felt like I failed with my family, um, with friendships. But I think at 32, the closest thing I can think of is that this recent relationship didn't work out. That I and there maybe is some job stuff too. You know, there are some things I was probably going after this past year that didn't end up working out, so I felt like I failed.
Mm,
Um, some career goals. So
okay.
I think maybe it could possibly be rooted in the fact that like I feel like a failure because I'm not where I want to be with career or with love. So it's like this giant thing.
Yeah, I'm asking to see which it is. Is it
Mm-hmm.
one or the other? And I'm getting no, you're right. It's
Hmm.
both. It's like I'm not where I want to be just in life in
Yeah.
general. Yeah, that's what this is. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so if you're ready, we can release this, but then I'd love to speak to that if that
Yes,
might
yes, of
help.
course. Hmm.
Okay. So let's release this, the failure. And just what I can tell you from personal experience is that failure, it's not real, it's very perceived, but often when you're going through an experience like this of detaching from old patterns, it feels very much like you're failing. And so don't worry if that's coming up for you, that's very normal.
Hmm.
It's kind of like I almost feel like you have to go through that to come out of old patterns and to open up to new because in the letting go, it's like when I say I felt like I was being dragged kicking and screaming, that's a lot of what it felt like. Oh no, I'm failing. I'm failing.
Yeah,
I'm failing. But what you're really doing is you're falling into your new life, like
yeah,
whatever that's going to be, romantically, career-wise. So just know that failure, it's not real. You're not really
yeah.
failing.
I think the scary part about that is like it's unknown, right? Like I had to move
Yes.
into a new apartment on my own and I rebought all my own furniture again because everything I had with him, we used his, I sold mine. So it was just kind of like all these new things at once and not knowing where I was going to land and kind of still feeling like, where am I going to land here? I'm still in
For
that.
sure.
So yeah, definitely.
For sure. Like I wish more people talked about this, but like the
Mhm.
this unknown, like this transition, it's so scary.
Yeah, and that's what I
Especially
think makes you fall back on the old stuff too.
yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Because especially for someone with more anxiety, yeah, it's like really difficult to let go of the familiar and the known.
Hmm.
But if you're feeling fear, you're actually doing it right. It means you're breaking old patterns, so that's a good thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's uncomfortable. And so like that's a big part of why I do this work, to just be a person that you can talk to be
Hmm.
like, yeah, like it's gonna be okay. I know it's really scary right now, but this is how it works and you're fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I so get that. Let me see if there's anything else here
Okay.
that we can release for you. Is there something else we can release to help you be more open to a healthy relationship? No, but is there something else in general? No. Okay, so the subconscious will stop me when we've done all that we can do because it wants to give you this week to process everything out and not
Yeah.
overwhelm you. So, but that was 8 releases. That was a good amount. How are you
That felt
feeling there?
good. Yeah, good. I mean, a lot of it can like felt relevant. Some things I feel like I need to like sleep on and like I don't know, like try to remember. Maybe or maybe I won't. Maybe it'll
Yeah.
just be already released. So I am so good, Lindsay. Thank you. It's crazy how these last few weeks have like kind of had me reflect and take time to just see what worked. And it's so funny. Like at first I was like skeptical. I was like, did everything that she did work or am I just like was it just like time? And then I'm like, maybe it was both. Like I don't know. I
Ooh.
have this like because I have skepticism about stuff like this. And so I was kind of like I feel more, it's not even that I felt lighter. I felt more in control and like on top and like
Okay.
powerful instead of like powerless. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And here, whether it's time or what we did, I don't care. Like, I don't even need to
Right.
take credit for it. I'm just so glad that you're in that place. That's an amazing place to be.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been really cool to just like feel um a little bit stronger, a little bit lighter, a little bit more on top of the situation instead of being like, woe is me, why isn't he calling? Why isn't he sad about me anymore? Like that kind of thing. And just be like, you know what? No, I deserve like a real love. I deserve something that feels right. Um, and it's crazy that like I've been going on dates and meeting a lot of nice guys. Nothing has like, totally like stuck yet as far as that goes. But it's at least out there and you know
Yeah.
that like there are an abundance of good people in the world and it's less about like, oh, I can't find anyone, I'm going to be single forever. And it's crazy because my ex has even like reached out and felt like he regret the breakup. I don't
Really?
think I'm going to entertain that. I mean, a part of me was like curious, but I think after we talked and in doing therapy and stuff, I'm just like, I don't know that feels like I feel like the ship has kind of sailed. It doesn't feel like that's really good for me. And then I think at the end of the day, he would really have to come back with some grandiose plan of action and
Yes.
um just a plan of like this is what I want to do, this is how I want to fix things, this is what I want it to look like. And he's not really doing that. So it's really like nothing really has changed all that much. So I feel refreshed. I feel like more in control of what happens next.
Wow. This
Yeah.
this is a huge shift. I'm thrilled. I'm so happy for you. Like I'm just reflecting like to have your ex come back and to you be like, yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
this is what I want anymore. Like, that's a big deal because the last time we had talked, you still were having a lot of feelings for him and some regret
Yeah.
over what happened. And so it sounds like there's been a huge shift in that.
I think so. It's and I'm almost like I'm still kind of in that situation where I'm like yes, I have love for him and I care about him still, but I know now more that I don't think he's the partner that I'm going to end up with. And I used to be like, it has to be him. Like, it has to be.
Yeah.
I can't do anything else. And I think it feels good to have that choice now and to kind of, like I said, just feel more in control. So, um, yeah, I
Wow.
left our first session kind of like, I'm not sure how I feel. And then like as the days went on, like you said, it either happens right away or like it's
Yeah.
gradual. And I started to feel like a gradual just confidence.
Mm.
And just yeah, it's been good. So I think it definitely helped. I went on vacation, that helped, just several things that kind of just like started to work and shift and move and yeah, met some nice men in my, dating so far. And nothing, like I said, nothing is like for sure, but it's been I think I'm presenting myself with a more open confidence too. And I
Hmm.
think that it's like an energy that's I'm giving off. And I know we talked about that. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's been good.
That's
Hmm.
like what you're talking about. That's real self-love. Like that
Yeah.
confidence that you now feel, like that empowerment,
Mhm.
that knowing that you deserve what you want in a relationship. That's like when
Yeah.
people talk about you have to love yourself, like that's it. That's what it is. And
Yeah.
often it's not like a boom, like it just hits you all at once. It's just like these subtle shifts that you're
Hmm.
noticing and these different decisions that you're making and the way that you're carrying yourself. I could not
Yeah.
be
I will
happier
say
for you.
that thank you. That's happened too, like with the decision making. I think that's like how I'm like responding to things I notice because um my ex kind of came to me and admitted that he had slept with someone more recently, not while we were together, but
Okay.
just in within the breakup. And like a part of me at first was like a little hurt, but then I was like, you don't owe me anything. Like we're not together. You can date, I can date like this. And I think old me would have like wanted to like be detective and figure everything out and I was kind of like, that's your journey. Like that's what you want. That's how you want to deal with this. Like that's fine.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I think that there's just like a different response, like a more confident response from me to be like, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you. I don't hold any resentment because it's really
Right.
not something for me to, like I can't. It's not fair of me to be upset about this. And we're not together, so do whatever you want.
I
But, I
do.
think at first you feel like that sort of like that territorial feeling with someone because you were with someone for so long.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, it's been good to kind of just not rely so much on that.
Yes. And you're
Hmm.
actually describing emotional detachment from him. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't feel so like, oh, this was my person. Now it's like you explained,
Yeah.
he's free to do his thing. Like you guys aren't together anymore. It sounds like it feels um less hurtful to hear that
Yep.
he had his experience and you're having
Yep.
yours.
Yeah, we'll go from there. But I will say, like, everything that I did with you, um, felt like it played a factor because it just added to my like overall level of confidence. It was almost like I knew those feelings were like gone, like what you did
Yeah.
like removed them. So I was like, they're gone. Like, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to share about the experience or yeah, just anything else before we end here?
I would say like, if anyone is considering it, just to be open to it because like I said, I am someone who is more faith-based and more um I never did the kind of exercise that I did with you.
Yeah.
I don't really meditate. I don't really do that kind of thing, but to be open to it was really cool. And I do think it played a factor. So like I would encourage people to be open to it and just let it be an additional part of your healing journey through finding, you know, a healthier relationship version of you because like, do I think that that alone changed everything? No, but I think a lot, like, I
Mhm.
think it helped shift my mindset. It helped me feel confident. I took a break from, you know, life and went on vacation.
Yeah.
I journaled and like all these things combined um, made me feel, in my experience, a lot better. So, yeah, I love what you're doing, and I just think it's so cool. And I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to kind of be doing this like test run that you're doing because I know that, normally, because I reached out to you on Instagram about kind of just being a guinea pig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thank you too for being open to this and
Mhm.
for sharing your story. And yeah, like I am not expecting miracles from just one session, but
Mhm.
this is like I couldn't ask for anything better. What these sessions do is like little by little you make these small but actually very significant shifts, and then by the time you have, a bunch of sessions with me, you're in a completely different place. So one session for you to be having that big of a shift, I'm
Yeah.
thrilled. And like I said, you did other stuff too, but no, I'm so
Yeah.
happy to have played a part in your healing journey. So thank
Yeah,
you
thank
again.
you.
Thank you again. If you want to be featured in a YouTube session, just like my client Stacy here, I do those free of charge. Click on the link in the description to be added to the waitlist. I'll contact you whenever I have a spot available. And if you'd like to work with me privately, click on the link for that below in the description as well. If you're wondering why emotionally unavailable partners are so appealing, then check out this video here.